Hey everyone, what's going on? Mr. Harvey here. Let's continue and end our lecture on Chapter 9, the Enlightenment, by talking about some of the art that we're going to be seeing during the 18th century. Now, in this lecture, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be focusing on two art forms. We're going to be focusing on Rococo and Neoclassicism. All right. So Rococo, ladies and gentlemen, which I'm going to start off with and talk about, was the art of Western Europe during the 1700s. Okay. And this art form, ladies and gentlemen, really portrayed the life of the aristocracy. This carefree life, this life of privilege, this life of power. Rococo art, that was a major theme within this. Now, really important for us to understand, ladies and gentlemen, we've talked about art a lot in this class. Baroque art, Mannerism, Renaissance art, Northern Renaissance art. Okay, again, art, important theme for us. Make sure we're taking really good notes. Okay, so the aristocracy with Rococo. We're going to see this art form really personified with the court of Louis the 15th. Also Louis the 16th, and really personifying that privilege. Okay, love and romance were very common themes, very common subjects. That's a major departure from some of the historical or religious subjects that we've seen before. Very playful, very showy, delicate colors, and this was art form really meant to represent luxuriousness, meant to represent privilege, meant to represent that carefree, that a life of the aristocracy, that privilege. Okay, less grand than Baroque art, less ornate, less dedicated on showing power that we saw with the Baroque movement of the monarchs and of the Catholic Reformation, and it was often used as a decorative function. Tapestries, furniture. As a way to just show that lifestyle that the aristocracy was living. So centered around the aristocracy. Some of the artists, okay, are Watteau, Fragonard, Boucher, and Watteau is probably one of the most the famous. All right, and here's a picture of his. The nobility, this carefree lifestyle. All right, Watteau was really known for epitomizing that elegance, that privilege, the money, just that carefree lifestyle. And you can see, here we go. We can see the aristocracy. You can kind of tell about their clothing, and just showing how they lived. And this is important for us, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to be focusing on really the fall of the aristocracy. That's going to be coming with the French Revolution, and the aristocracy really being attacked during these revolutionary times. But this is emphasizing that lifestyle of these people who have tremendous privilege. Here's another picture. Okay, this couple, you can kind of tell with their clothing, right? This very fancy dress. This man just kind of chilling in the garden. You can see another man right here helping pull the swing. All right. And this is a Fragonard, the swing. This is oil on a canvas. All right. This was actually, ladies and gentlemen, this picture of the swing was actually a very sexual picture. By today's standards, in the standards of sexuality from the 18th century versus today's standards are very different. But this was considered a very erotic, sexual picture, as you saw the woman in a position where the man could look up her skirt or undergarments, and so that was a theme of this art form of Rococo, of this carefree lifestyle, carefree in with the aristocracy. All right, we see the foliage, the plants, okay, the ornamentation, but again, the Rococo, ladies and gentlemen, focused on that carefree lifestyle of the aristocracy. All right, Neoclassicism is another really important art form during the 1700s. We're going to see discoveries in Greece and Rome are going to revive interest in the study of the classics. And so what Neoclassicism is, ladies and gentlemen, is they're bringing back the Renaissance. The Renaissance, the interest in the Greeks and Romans is going to come back again. All right, so a lot of the themes that we saw within what we saw within the Renaissance is going to come back. Some of those classical themes. All right. We're also going to see, some of the heroic and moral themes in classical history are going to be very interwoven within the French Revolution, which we're going to be talking about soon. All right. And the simplicity. All right. The balance, the harmony. And this is and we're gonna see that within Neoclassicism, and we're gonna see a return to the artistic style of the Renaissance, the Romans and the Greeks that we saw earlier. And right, that balance, that simplicity, that symmetry, things that we talked about in our first lecture on the Renaissance. Okay, and some of our artists that we need to know are Ingres, Jacques Louis David, Canova, Thorvaldsen. All right, so these are some of our important artists. All right, take a look. Jacques Louis David, the death of Socrates, and we can see right definitely the classics. Well, number one, this is Socrates, right? One of the an ancient Greek thinker, very important, very known throughout history, and one of the most important philosophers of ancient Western history, and the emphasis on the Greeks and Romans. And we can also see, the humanism, the individualism, the individual differences. All right, and focusing on the human aspect, right? The balance, the symmetry, right? This isn't. We don't see as much light and shadow as we saw in Baroque art. So definitely bringing back the ancient Greeks and Romans, and definitely bringing back some of their stories. All right, same thing here. Okay, ancient Greeks and Romans, and we see this picture by Ingres. All right, this is Jupiter. It's very much Roman, right? The god that kind of like their equivalent to Zeus. All right, so he would paint. We would see a lot of themes within the Greeks and Romans. All right, here's a picture of a marble statue of Napoleon's sister, Pauline. All right, and again, very similar to kind of what we saw within the Renaissance, that humanism focused on the human aspects. Obviously, there's nudity in this, ladies and gentlemen, but the balance, the simplicity, the harmony, okay, the tranquility, the simplicity, very important themes within Neoclassicism, bringing back the ancient Greeks and Romans in the Renaissance that we saw. All right, another one, Venus. Very similar to what we saw, right? The simplicity, that balance, that harmony, and again, Venus, a Roman goddess. Okay, so this is very, 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 within, this is very much a theme within Neoclassicism, very much a theme within the Renaissance, and that's what Neoclassicism is. All right. Bringing back that Renaissance, bringing back the ancient Greeks, bringing back the Romans. Okay, architecture, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a great example, the Arc de Triomphe, and we'll take a look at this in class, ladies and gentlemen. But simple, balanced, okay, very simple. The Arc de Triomphe, very simple. It kind of just looks like a little box. There's the symmetry, okay, and the balance of that. All right, let's talk a little bit about classical music, ladies and gentlemen. All right, here are a couple links. We'll watch these in class, ladies and gentlemen. We will watch a little scene from a movie looking at Mozart, and then there's a quick YouTube video where there's a YouTuber who explains classical music very well, and he goes into a little bit more detail. So you can reference both. One show is from a famous movie called Amadeus about Mozart, and it kind of shows Mozart's personality a little bit about. But let's talk a little bit about classical music, ladies and gentlemen. All right, classical music, ladies and gentlemen, is where we see some of these neoclassic ideals melded into music. All right, and that's known as classical music. And the video that I have up for y'all really kind of goes into the difference between classical music and the classical era. But this classical music, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be very different from Baroque. All right, whereas Baroque art with Johann Bach was very complicated, very, there's a lot more going on. Classical music is going to be kind of toned down. It's going to be more balanced, symmetrical, restrained. And with those videos, and we'll discuss this in class, you'll be able to see kind of the difference. And it's really bringing in a lot of those themes from the Greeks and Romans into their music. right? That simplicity, that balance, that harmony. And Mozart was one of our best examples. Haydn, another example, and that's what I show you on the previous page. You get a little clip of Mozart and his genius, all right, and also his personality a little bit. But Mozart was unbelievable, an unbelievable talent. And in that video clip that you hopefully you looked at really quickly, Mozart was able to, he was able just to remember music off the top of his head, and it was pretty incredible. All right, and then we have Beethoven. Beethoven is kind of a transitional figure. Beethoven is going to lead the transition to Romanticism, and we'll talk about Beethoven more with Romanticism. But we're seeing them move away from that complicated, the really ornate Baroque type of music to something more simple. And we're also going to see new instruments. We're going to see the symphony, the symphonic orchestra start to be developed during this time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so a quick lecture on Rococo and Neoclassicism, not one of the more really well-known art forms and important art forms, but just some quick information about that art for our class. Thank you so much, y'all.